camera. I've had it for about 2 months now, and I find myself taking it out to take photos almost daily, even if it is just a walk with my dog. It's really enjoyable just to slip the camera in my pocket and take it with me. I think that's the main reason I decided to pick up the Ricoh GR3, is that the camera just produces amazing photos straight out of camera, and it's in a very small form factor. Last weekend I was actually at a wedding and I fit it in my tight dress pants. You know, it wasn't the most comfortable thing. Pretty much the main reason I picked up this camera is I'm lazy and I want a camera that can take great photos without any editing. You know, I'll always have that option to shoot in JPEG plus RAW or RAW only, but that isn't the reason I picked up this camera. Just some quick specs about the camera is that it does have an APS-C size sensor. The sensor produces 24 megapixels, and depending on if you get the Ricoh GR3 or GR3X, you're able to get a 28mm with the GR3 or a 40mm full frame equivalent with the GR3X. One nice thing about the GR3 is that it does have crop modes. So you're able to shoot at 35mm or 50mm equivalent. One of the downsides with the camera is that it doesn't have a flash, but the lens does stop down to f2.8. So when you're in those low light situations, the camera's still able to handle it pretty well. And then now let's talk about my absolute favorite thing about this camera, and that is the built-in Ricoh recipes. While they're not necessarily film simulations, it's pretty much the equivalent to what you would find on the Fuji cameras. There's actually an option on there for film grain, so you can increase that or decrease it. So the camera is pretty old now, it's over 5 years old, but Ricoh hasn't released a new version. They have released other versions like the HDF that has kind of a bloom filter instead of the built-in ND filter. For an extra $100, wasn't really worth it for me. On the topic of money, let's just talk about this camera a little bit. Sitting at almost $1,000 is pretty steep. I know when the camera was released, it was at $700. My piece of advice if you're looking to pick up a Ricoh GR3 is to join the Ricoh subreddit. So the reason I was actually able to pick up my Ricoh GR3 is that someone made a post in the Ricoh subreddit saying that Ricoh had the camera in stock on their website, and within an hour they would hop on there and pick up a camera at retail. I think because the price point is so high already, spending a couple extra $100 by buying from a reseller, definitely not worth it. You can definitely see those Fuji X100 prices, especially on the 6, sitting around $2,200. It's just crazy to me that people are willing to spend that extra. But for me, it definitely wasn't worth it, and I just held out and waited until it was available at retail. So I did want to keep the footprint of the camera pretty small, but I did decide to pick up a few accessories. The first accessory that I picked up is this lens cap. It actually says GR on it, which is pretty cool. Once you start to really dig into the Ricoh GR3, a lot of people post about the dust issues. It's not something I've had an issue with, but I've also only had the camera for a few months, so we'll just have to wait and see. But picking up this lens cap cover does keep that lens protected, and then hopefully it protects against any dust coming in. Because the camera does have a touchscreen, I went ahead and spent the $8 and picked up a screen protector. It was really easy to install, and it just gives me a little better peace of mind knowing that if I drop the camera, I'm not completely shit out of luck, and maybe it won't break on me. Speaking about build quality, we can talk about some of the things I don't particularly like about this camera. The lack of weather sealing is a little frustrating, but again, there's not another option out there, so you kind of just have to live with it or just don't pick up the camera. No built-in flash is definitely frustrating as well. However, they did have to make room for the in-body image stabilization, and that's just something they had to give up. I'll probably pick up an external flash that just mounts to the camera's hot shoe, but it's just not something I've needed yet, but I could definitely see myself picking up one soon. Instead of spending almost $50 on Ricoh's official batteries, I decided to pick up some Wasabi Power batteries. I actually haven't had to use them yet. The camera's battery has lasted a lot longer than I thought. Some of these other videos, a lot of people talk that the camera does have really poor battery life, but the batteries on these cameras are tiny, so it's kind of to be expected. I did also pick up a SD card, but the camera does have 2 gigabytes of built-in internal storage. I think when I'm just shooting JPEGs, I get a little over 100 images, so it's nice to have if you forget that SD card, but you're definitely not getting a lot of pictures out of it. So I'm just really excited to keep using this camera. I just wanted to share some of my initial thoughts and some of the things I really enjoy about it. If you have any questions or comments or just want to talk about the Ricoh GR3, throw them down below. Thank you so much for watching and have a blessed rest of your day.